to attrition with a conscience only built for thee. Dumbfounded by the flagellation, a useful idiot celebration. Christ, I think we're going to full time. And by the time I did a quick stint in college, I left, and I've just been pursuing this ever since. So I don't know. I mean, if I had to like pinpoint one time, it might have been in 8th grade. We had this history project that we were doing, and in lieu of actually doing the full project, which was going to take forever, and which would just really suck because it's, you know, history and all that stuff. Ooh.
Oh, no.
That's okay.
He is interviewing.
So that was when I realized that I wanted to be a musician.
Okay.
Just this moment, just now.
Yeah.
This whole thing.
Hey, like these are the best moments.
I know. It's like the the spontaneous nature of what we do. It's cool.
Exactly.
Guys with cameras just waltz in while we're doing interviews.
We were doing one upstairs, and there were like waitresses walking around
really?
the back area. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just.
That's just, you know, it's a lot of traffic. It's constant traffic, not just on the roads, but backstage.
Yes.
It's all organized chaos.
Pretty much.
And that's what I wanted. That I knew in 8th grade that was what I wanted.
A life of organized chaos.
Exactly. I just want somebody to randomly walk through this door again soon. I hope they do.
We could text someone.
It's such a rush. It's crazy.
So, when it came to like releasing music and stuff, what do you have out right now for people to check out, and then what is kind of the plan for the future?
I have a bunch of records that, I mean, you could find anywhere online. iTunes, obviously, is people's preferred method, but and a couple mom and pop shops. But there's the last record I put out was called One Day Die, and that came out in 2011, back in March or April. I think it was March. But that was the last one I put out. But I've got a bunch of records, and I actually did do stuff through Drexel on Mad Dragon's label. And the first record that I actually ever made was through them. That was back in 2006. But the plan now is that I've got a Kickstarter campaign going on now to raise money to make a full length in the spring. And with that, when people pledge, I actually did record another acoustic EP that people can get. So that was the last bit of music that I've made that hasn't been released yet, but will be within like the next 2 weeks. So.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, with Kickstarter, obviously, the whole point is fun incentives. So, what are some of the cool things that you're doing with that?
Well, I think the coolest one is if you pledge X amount of dollars, I come to your house and I'll cook you dinner, and then we'll have a house concert. Now, the dinner can be, we could try to find some sort of a compromise, but I like to cook. So for like a party of like maybe 10 people, we could do like something festive, like tacos would be cool, or we could do like a big pasta dinner. Or, I don't know, maybe like some foie gras. Like I could find the duck to do that. It'll just be really nice. Candles. We'll talk politics. Luckily, it'll be post-election, so we'll know who's in office. We'll understand the scape. And then I'd play a house concert. I just thought that one was a neat one. And it wasn't anything, none of the rewards were ever going to be all that outrageous. It was just a lot of like hoodies and cool stuff like that. So.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite dish to make then?
Yeah, I got really decent at making risottos, like all different types of risottos. And anything, actually it's funny, I think that anything that I can make that has sriracha in it at all would be a favorite dish of mine. So
your alternate calling in life is to be a chef.
Yeah, but I'm just going to moonlight as a chef by myself because I don't want anybody else to taste it necessarily. I think it's great, and it's fun for me. But yeah, maybe in some parallel universe, I'm a chef.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite song that you've written, or a favorite like line in a song?
I think my favorite song of mine that I've written is probably the song called "Kingdom Underground," which was sort of this retelling of Milton's Paradise Lost. So it's just all about God and the devil and Adam and Eve and all throughout up into Jesus. And I'm not a Christian writer, but I grew up Catholic, so it's like a lot of that stuff, you know, because of like my upbringing, like really hits home. And I'd read this book called The Club Dumas, which was made into a movie with Johnny Depp called The Ninth Gate, in case anybody was wondering and they wanted to see Johnny Depp in anything. It's good, but the book is great. But they had a line in the book, something to the effect of like that Milton's version of Satan was the most human. Like it's somebody that you can sort of empathize with, which I thought was fascinating. And so I read it, Hold up. Actually, no, come in for a second. Peer your head in. See, you scared him away. The spontaneity. See, as soon as I said Satan, the door knocked. This is not a good sign. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting idea because, human beings have we're inherently a lot of things, and they're always sort of at odds, it seems. And when I read Paradise Lost, I was just really taken aback by how much you can kind of sympathize with him a little bit, and the fall from grace and all that stuff. And so I wrote a song that was from that perspective, and that was the song. So,
cool.
Yeah.
So when it comes to playing live, do you have a favorite moment of a live show, or like something that you just always look forward to?
To be honest with you, the whole thing, I hope it's not a cop-out answer, but the entire performance as a whole is my favorite. I just really love being on stage. And there's something, when you go through the rigmarole of like the load-ins and the sound checks and the long hours on the road and all that stuff, it's all because you know that ultimately for 30 minutes to 2 hours to 3 hours, whatever, you'll get to be on stage, and it's not so much that everybody is just focused on you, it's that everybody in the room is a part of something really cool for the night, and it's equal parts. It's the crowd response, the energy from the crowd, and it's you on stage. And when those two things come together, that feeling is euphoric. It's really pretty incredible, and that's why I continue to do this. Even through all the ups and downs, that's the best part of what we do.
And I think there's something that, I guess some people that have never been to a concert don't totally grasp that when you see music live, there's just a different feel to it, and there's this give and take that you don't experience anywhere else. And even as a fan, you feel something special. So what kind of, do you have any words of wisdom to give to anyone who maybe thinks that going to a concert, you don't have to because you can watch the videos online or you can just listen to the album?
Well, you just said it up perfectly, that question, because the way that you rolled into it, that's exactly the point. That's why you go to live shows, and that's why you should go to live shows. And it's hard. You could also argue that going to a live show will give you really great insight into whether the record you just got is worth its weight, because there's some bands that can't. They just can't do it. When you hear it, like some top 40 radio where like the record was just produced solely for radio, and the performer might not be that great. And there are all of these other performers that if you just take a moment to go to live shows, even if you don't necessarily know who the openers are, you don't know the bands, but you know the venue and like whatever, and there's just a band going, there's some band that might not have like the skrill and the promotions to get their stuff out for top 40 radio, but they might be the best band and the best night and the best music that you'll ever experience. And that's why you go to live shows, because like you said, that's your moment with them, and that's precious, and it's separate from anything else. So people should always feel compelled to go to a live show and to take that risk and hope that they knock it out of the park.
I like that answer.
Nice. I was just riffing on what you said. I just sort of took it from there.
It works. You said it better than I did, I think.
No,
So social media-wise, because obviously that's a huge part of establishing a connection with a fan outside of a live show or getting to meet someone face-to-face, how do you kind of use social media to your advantage?
I utilize as many facets of it as I possibly can, and as soon as something new pops up, you just got to go for it. Like if there's a brand new app that you just, I don't know, that you find out through your network of friends and artists that's just like, oh man, this new app just popped up that people can use for blah blah blah. It's just like, all right, well I got to get that because I need to know what it is, I need to understand it, whatever. Everything about today's the music industry, or at least what this is with social media, as many gripes as I can find about it, it really is for emerging artists and for people who, again, in terms of just getting yourself out there, you don't need to like hire a publicist. You could just use Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. And again, those are probably the most important forums and the best mediums to get your stuff out there anymore. There's a ton of other ways to get your music out there and to get your self-exposure, but everybody is there. It's a whole nother universe and network. So it's always about like just engaging the people who are on the pages with you. If they like your page, just make sure that it's not so much that you're just using it as a bulletin board. You're using it to engage them in, whether it's like a conversation, you mentioned something about a show, make sure you put out like a video, ask people for things, not to actually physically have things from them, but it's just like, did anybody see the show last night? Blah blah, all this other stuff. I mean, there's a lot of ways, and just even sending a little retweet on Twitter and stuff like that. If you know that kind of stuff affects people, yeah, and it's cool. So I don't know. I utilize it the best that I know how. I'm not a super, computer whiz kid by any means, but I get it enough to understand how to go around it, and it's a pretty cool thing. It's a great tool.
Okay, cool. And then with this tour, what's it been like being out with Sarah and Tony? Because I know you've written with Sarah before.
Mm-hmm. I've written with Tony too. We're all, and I say that only because it's just really easy. I mean, sometimes you'll get onto a bill with somebody, you might, and you don't know them, and you just hope that they're good, like just good people to hang with and stuff like that. And we all roll with a lot of people that we've played the same shows with, so we've gotten to know each other very well, and we can trust one another. When you can do that and you can be on the road with those kinds of people, it takes a lot of the anxiety out of touring. And just, I mean, I'm a fairly gregarious guy. I like to go out and meet new people and stuff like that. But when you're spending like a long days with one person or two people, I'm very fortunate that it's him.
Yeah.
And I love her, and it's great. So I'm very lucky.
Okay, cool. And then, do you have any like little tidbits of advice that you've either gotten or you've kind of figured out on your own from touring or just being around music that you want to share with people who might be trying to get to where you're at?
Yeah, well, it's hard because it's such a long process. But basically, one of the best pieces of advice that I heard was when I was so excited to go out on tour. The best thing that I did hear from somebody was, you do need to approach touring like it's like an athletic sport, like it's a sport, and you need to make sure that you're in good shape. You need to eat healthy. You need to take care of your voice, and you cannot. For anybody who's 21 or over and they're wondering, it's just like you just can't like treat it like every night's like a big party. It's work, so you got to work hard. You got to make sure that you're on your social media stuff all day, and again, taking care of yourself is sort of paramount. Otherwise, after like 2 days, you're just going to crap out, and the rest of the tour is going to be a wash. But getting to that point, it's just like you just keep going to open mics. You keep finding people like online, like through the social networking and stuff like that, like other artists in your area. Go to shows, go to live shows. And that's it. It's just like, just be present. And ultimately you'll meet enough people who are going to be behind you and support you where it's going to get easier, and then you'll meet this person who will network with that person, and then you'll get a better show. And then from there you'll get an even better show, because then you're still... And always, always, always be out talking to fans at your merch display after the show. Always go out there and, especially if you're just trying to start out, always go out and talk to people. So... it's a lot, but basically just be present and take care of your body.
Okay. And then, I guess, not necessarily, like, by giving money, but giving back just with time or through music and things like that can be such a big opportunity you have when you're in the public eye. Mm-hmm. So, are there any causes or things like that that you support?
Actually, repeat the question one more time. I'm sorry, I just blanked out for a second.
just like giving back and stuff. Not necessarily like giving donations, but giving time and using your music as like a way to show support to stuff. Like, are there any things that...
Yeah, well, even on this run and stuff, we've stopped at a few hospitals to play. And in fact, there's a program here in Philadelphia, as there is in New York and Nashville, called Musicians on Call, and it sends artists. Musicians of any type, just performers to the bedsides of people
even on this run and stuff.
And I've been doing that for the last couple of years. And it is, selfishly, it's really, really rewarding. And it certainly puts things in perspective. But those are things where that's sort of like the least that we can do. Because music, for me, has always been a healer. So for others, it's sort of the same way. It's like when you listen to like your favorite sorrowful record, it kind of puts you in like a better space sometimes, or like a really upbeat one when you're driving, like cruising down the road. It makes that cruise so much better. So for people at the hospital, and especially their families who are being put through a whole lot, it makes a big difference just to go in and play a song or two and hang out. So that's the one that I'm certainly behind. And there's I don't know if Tony talked to you about Mile, the Mile program. There's this program called Mile that sends an artist and a couple people down to Guatemala to do a little bit of relief work and helping to organize this community down there to make it a viable economic place. But the other thing too is
behind.
we encourage
And there's,
people to
I don't
come
know if
because
Tony
there'll be an
talked about
artist to
Mile.
play music. So the
Mile
incentive is if you come and
There's
do a
this
little bit of
program
work with
called
us,
Mile
at
that's
night
artists
we're just
that
going to have
go
drinks,
down
we're
to
going to play
Guatemala
music,
and
and it's
do
going to be
work
awesome with like one of your favorite musicians.
and helping to
So
organize
it's
the
trying to,
community
you know,
kind of
sort of
viable
angle it
economic
in a certain way to
place.
get
But
people to go down to
the
help
thing
you
too
do
is
good things.
we encourage
So,
people to come
yeah,
because there'll be artists to
if we
play
didn't-
music. So the incentive
If we
is
didn't
you come and do a little bit of work with us.
take the time to do
At night, we're just
something,
gonna have drinks. We're gonna play
I don't
music.
know.
And
I
it's
would
gonna be
feel,
awesome with like
I
one of
would
your
feel a
favorite
little
musicians.
empty, I guess.
So
At
it's
least I'm
trying
grateful
to
to
sort
the
of
gift that
handle it in a
is
certain way to
music.
get people to go down
Like,
to help
do you
you
have,
do good things.
because like, I don't know, I
So,
feel like when the
yeah,
weather changes, I just
if
like,
we
even
didn't-
just like off the weather,
if we
there's like
didn't,
certain music that I
take the time
gravitate
to
to
do
more. So do you
something,
have, like, other than holiday music, do you have
I
favorite,
would
like,
feel, I'd feel a
cold
little
winter
empty,
day
I guess.
Mhm.
I'm
songs to
grateful
listen to?
to the gift that
Whew,
is music.
yeah, I'm
Okay,
trying to think.
do you have-
Usually a bit
because,
more
like, I don't know,
mellow.
I feel like when the weather
I mean,
changes,
there's,
or just like
this
even
guy
just like off the
called
weather,
Owen
there's
who
like
was with,
certain music that I gravitate to
American
more.
football.
So do you have like other than
and he's
holiday
got
music,
these
do you
great
have
records
favorite
like No
like
Good for No One.
cold
Is a
winter
really
day
good one.
Mhm.
At Home with
Yeah.
Owen is a great record.
Whew,
Um,
yeah, I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to
Usually
think
a
of, like,
bit
in
more
that
mellow.
Of stuff.
I mean, there's this
Oh,
guy
it's so
called
hard.
Owen.
'Cause I don't know.
um,
But like,
he's
and
in
usually,
American
especially
football.
like around
And he's got
winter
these great
time and
records
like the
like No
fall
Good
and stuff
for
like
No
that.
One
Like I'm sure
is-
people
is a really good
love
one.
to be rocking the
At Home
bumper
with Owen is a great
and do stuff
record.
like that. But I don't know.
I'm trying to think of like.
Actually, for me, it'd be more fun to put on like a
stuff.
D'Angelo record. Remind me of the summertime.
Because I listen
and hang
I don't
out,
know.
but-
But like,
But yeah,
and
but
usually,
depends.
especially like
Okay, cool.
around winter
And
time,
then I guess
like the
lastly,
fall,
like,
stuff like
do
that,
you have
I'm
a
sure
specific
people
end goal
love
with
to be rocking
music?
the
Just
bumper
like
there and do
not
stuff like that,
necessarily
but,
like winning a certain award
know.
or playing a certain venue,
Actually,
but
for
just
me, it'd be
something
more
that
fun
you
to
want to
put on
have
like a
accomplished
D'Angelo
to
record,
feel
remind
like
me of the summertime.
at the end of the day,
hang
when
out
it's
with
all said and done, like
But yeah,
you
that depends.
reached a
Okay,
certain
cool.
point. And then I guess
I
lastly, like,
want
do you have a
to-
specific end goal with music?
And I think
just
that this
like,
will be impossible.
not
This will be why I
necessarily
keep
like
doing
winning
it.
a certain award or
you
playing
wanna
a certain
make
venue, but just something
the
that
ultimate-
you want to have accomplished.
I want to make like the
at
penultimate
the end of
record
the day, when
of
it's
my
all said
career.
and done, like
One that
you
I can look back
reached
on
a
and be
certain
like,
point.
that was the best
I
possible thing I
want
could have
to-
ever made.
I
And
think that this will
there
be
are
impossible,
few
this
bands
will be
that
why
could
I keep
probably
doing it.
say that unequivocally.
You want
And I only say that because just like as soon as
the
you're done,
ultimate-
you're ready to do the next thing.
I
So
wanna
it's just
make,
like
like,
you'll
the-
always
the
see
penultimate
little things
record
in what
of
you've
my
done.
career.
You'll always be proud
One
of the
that I
music
can
you've
look back
made. You'll
on
be
and
proud of the
like,
records.
"This is the best
But
possible thing
you
I've
keep
ever
striving
made."
for like this big thing.
And
So I'm throwing that
there
out there
are
and telling you it's
few
just like
bands
that's what I
that can
want.
probably
And
say
in
that
reality,
unequivocally.
it's like an
And I only say
unattainable
that because
goal
just like
because
as soon as you're done, you're ready to do the next thing. So it's just like you'll always see little things in what you've done. You'll always be proud of the music you've made and you'll be proud of the records. But you keep striving for like this big thing. So I'm throwing that out there and telling you it's just like that's what I want. And in reality, it's like an unattainable goal because the better that you get, and even if the records are great, you still want it to be just that much better. And I just want to keep being happy, and that's it. And as long as I'm happy, I don't know, I find that that's success in and of itself.
Okay, cool.